Good morning, human beings, and welcome back to the Superhero Shred, episode 4. Now, firstly, I'd like to apologise. I haven't put up a video in a while. Completely let down. Haven't been on the daily grind, as the youth are calling it these days. But today we've got a special topic, and we're going to talk about alcohol, and more so how you can fit it into your diet. And how it can hinder your progress in terms of fat loss and even muscle gain to some extent. But before we do that, making breakfast. So cooking up some ground turkey mince and probably going to throw in a couple of tomatoes, some onions. Don't really know. Actually, I don't know what I'm going to put in this. Just go crazy, Put this in a wrap and head off to film that video. But hopefully it'll turn out pretty good. So we'll see. Look at that. This pepper, I don't think it could decide if it wanted to be green, orange or yellow. I love that. It's beautiful seeing diversity in the world of vegetables. You see, I've just filmed that. I haven't watched any of the clips back. I haven't done any editing. So, in my head, I think it looks really artistic and, really fancy, like a tasty video. And, I think it looks pretty good, but it could have just been absolutely shit. But it tasted pretty good. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Time to get on with the educational section on how you can fit alcohol into your diet. What's up, guys? Welcome to the educational section. So, as you can see from the whiteboard behind me, we're going to be talking about alcohol and fat loss and how you can fit it into your diet. And make sure to tune in next week where we'll be discussing how to do cocaine in a healthy and sustainable way. But for now, let's stick to one vice. So alcohol is one of those funny things where people sometimes say you have to cut it out of your diet completely, and if you want to lose fat, then drinking alcohol is just going to sabotage your results. In the same way that people put sugar, carbs, gluten, all sorts of things in that same category. However, that's completely untrue, and while excessive consumption of alcohol, just like anything, can hinder your fat loss, there is still a way you can fit it into your diet in a sustainable way. So in one of my previous videos, I spoke about macronutrients. So I won't be going over it in too much detail, but 3 macronutrients: protein, carbs, and fat. And alcohol can kind of be seen as the 4th macronutrient. The only difference is, while we require these 3 in our diet, we don't actually require alcohol. Some people would probably disagree with that, but that's a discussion for another time. So quickly recapping, protein contains 4 calories per gram, carbs contain 4 calories per gram, and fat contains 9 calories per gram. So keeping it simple, alcohol contains 7 calories per gram, but there's 2 things you need to keep in mind. Number 1, alcohol can't be stored by the body. The reason for this is because alcohol is a poison, so your body's going to do whatever it can to get rid of it, meaning it's going to prioritize burning the calories from alcohol over calories from carbs, fats, proteins. Which leads me to point number 2, which is that the calories still count. Now, I know at first this can seem like it's contradicting itself a little bit, but let me explain. Let's say your calories in, or the food you eat, is 2,000 calories, and the calories out, or how many calories you burn, is also 2,000 calories. Ignoring day-to-day fluctuations, taking this approach, your weight would stay the same. You wouldn't gain fat and you wouldn't lose fat. Now let's say you add 200 calories worth of alcohol onto this day. Now, even though these 200 calories aren't going to be stored by the body, what's going to happen is that out of the 2,000 calories that you're burning, 200 calories of that is going to come from the alcohol. Like I said, it's a priority to get rid of the alcohol out of your system because it's a poison and your body doesn't want to store it. But now that your body's already used up 200 calories burning away that alcohol, that means there's only 1800 calories left to get rid of the food. But since we're consuming 2000 calories worth of food, that's going to leave 200 calories left over that isn't burnt by the body. So effectively what's happened is that 200 calories worth of alcohol, even though your body isn't going to store that and it's not going to be directly adding to body fat, what it's doing is stopping you burning all of those 2000 calories from food. So the reason I wanted to show you that is because you've probably heard the statement that calories from alcohol don't count and they can't be stored by the body, so there's no point worrying about it. And yeah, like I said, while that is true, it's still going to have a knock-on effect and stop you burning less of the calories that you're eating from food. So in a way, they do count, but just not in a direct way, but in more of an indirect way. Okay, so that's the first reason of how alcohol can make you fat, because the calories from it do technically count. But the other reason, and this is probably the bigger reason why alcohol can cause you to gain fat, is because, let's be honest, when you drink, especially after you've had quite a few, you get a bit drunk, you're probably not going to make the best choices in regards to food. More often than not, when you drink, you're going to crave junk food. So we're talking pizza, kebab, fries, you name it. And not only are you going to probably gravitate towards the more calorie-dense food, your inhibitions are probably going to go completely out the window, and you're not really going to give a shit about how many calories you're eating. And it should come to no surprise to a lot of people that alcohol can lead to bad choices. So there's a couple of strategies that you can implement so that you can still drink alcohol, but not worry that you're going to ruin your fat loss. And the first thing is to know how many calories are in what you're drinking. So what I'm going to do is just show you a quick example of how to calculate the alcohol in your typical spirits. Now don't worry, you're not going to have to calculate this on your night out. This is just to give you an idea of how it works, and then afterwards I'll give you some estimate figures so you can just say this drink has roughly this many calories in. So like I said, alcohol has 7 calories per gram. Now the problem with this is no one measures liquid in grams, at least I don't think they do. More often than not, you're going to measure it in volume, so milliliters is more appropriate. So a milliliter of alcohol actually contains 5.6 calories. So if we take your average spirit, gin, vodka, whiskey, pretty much anything that's around 40% alcohol, we can actually calculate the calories in a single shot. So a single shot here in the UK is usually 25 milliliters, which means 40% of that, or 10 milliliters, is going to be alcohol. So you times that 10 mil by 5.6 calories, gives you 56 calories per shot. Now, if you don't use milliliters and you use a fluid ounce to measure your shots, a fluid ounce is 28 milliliters roughly. So a shot of that size is going to be about 63 calories. But here in the UK, this is how many calories are going to be in a shot of gin, vodka, whiskey, or your typical spirits. In a double, that's going to be 112 calories. Now, like I said, you don't need to calculate this every time you're out. You can just use that ballpark figure, call it 60 calories just to be safe. So if you plan on drinking and having, say, 5 doubles, so say 5 double vodka and cokes, that's going to be about 560 calories. So let's say you're tracking your calories and you've allocated yourself 2,500 calories a day. You now know that you should reduce that by about 560 calories to stay on track. So as a quick little reference, spirits, one shot is going to be about 56 calories. Average glass of wine is going to be about 130 to 160 calories. Again, this is going to depend on the strength, and this is based on a medium-sized wine, so 175 ml. Obviously, it's going to be more if you go for a large glass. And beers and ciders, they're a little bit funny because some of them can be extra calorific because they got a lot of sugar in, a lot of carbs, especially your fruity ciders. But on average, 180 to 220 calories per drink. If you really wanted to, you could find out the exact amount of the specific drink that you're having. But let's be honest, no one's got time for that. If you're drinking, you're probably on a night out, you're meant to be enjoying yourself. Don't worry about getting it 100% accurate. Just use these as a rough figure and estimate how many calories you should reduce from your food. Right, so the last few little tips are more practical takeaways to make it easier to fit the alcohol into your diet. It's all well and good saying you need to reduce this number of calories to fit the alcohol in, but if you've already eaten all your food for the day and you just go out and drink, you're probably going to crave food and you're probably not going to stick to your total calories. So because of this, it makes sense to apply certain strategies to make it easier. Firstly, you can apply certain strategies like intermittent fasting. Now, again, I've touched on this before, intermittent fasting is not magic and it is one of the latest trendy diets and it's very overrated. However, in this case, it can be very useful. If you don't eat any food for the day, you're effectively saving your calories for later. And what's going to happen later? Firstly, you're going to drink calories from alcohol and you're also probably going to crave food as well. So if you've already saved a shitload of calories throughout the day and you've got 1,000 calories left over for the evening, it doesn't really matter as much if you have a few drinks and maybe a little bit of junk food. So yeah, intermittent fasting can be very useful in that sense. So what I'd recommend is don't have breakfast and just save your first meal for about 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And obviously don't have a shitload of food then, because then you've kind of defeated the whole point of it, but still make sure that you've saved a bunch of calories for the evening. Strategy number 2 is stick to mostly protein and veggies throughout the day. The reason for this is simple. One, protein and veggies are going to fill you up more, again making it easier to eat less calories so that you've saved more calories for the evening. But also, let's be honest, when you go out for a few drinks, if you do crave food, you're probably not going to crave high protein food or lots of vegetables. The food you're going to crave is probably just going to be carbs and fat. So you want to make sure that you've gotten your protein allowance and your veggies and your micronutrients early on in the day so that you don't go without them throughout the whole day. And then because you've saved carbs and fat for the evening, it doesn't matter so much if you crave a little bit of junk food after you've had a few drinks. Tip number 3 is to increase your activity throughout the day. So if you're drinking, there is a chance you're going to eat more calories than you intend to. That's just a fact. However, if you can increase your activity throughout the day, let's say you want to get 10,000 steps, maybe try and push that to 15 or 20,000, have a workout beforehand. But it's always a good thing to do something extra beforehand before you go out drinking so that you've burned extra calories throughout the day, which means you've allowed yourself those extra calories that you can take in. It's great, this room I'm in has left a load of biscuits and tea, so I'm nicking a piece of shortbread. Oh, it's so good. Tastes so much better when you're cutting. So that's it really. Yeah, you can drink alcohol and not get fat, and you can still drink alcohol while losing fat. The simplest thing really is just don't be an idiot about it. Of course, if you have a few drinks and you order a whole Domino's pizza to yourself, that's going to probably derail your fat loss. The simplest thing is moderation. Don't drink too much that you lose all inhibitions, and also don't eat a shitload of junk food afterwards. It really is that simple. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you learned something from this one. If you're watching this on YouTube, then I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below what you thought of this. And if you're watching it on Facebook, again, leave a like and a comment, maybe a share as well. I'm sure you probably know some alcoholics who could appreciate this advice. But for now, I'm going to go have another piece of shortbread. But I'll see you guys in the next one.